Hello, I'm with Joe Ralling, who's the Head of Communications at the Food Foundation and Veggie Power. Hi Joe, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Great, so just to kick us off, Joe, can you tell us a bit about Veggie Power and the Food Foundation?
Yes, certainly. The Food Foundation is, if you like, the mothership. The Food Foundation is an independent think tank in the UK that works with government and business to try and make the food system more healthy and sustainable. We are independent, we are research led, so all our reports are based in scientific or academic research. So we are positioning ourselves as a trusted source of information, and we very much like to work with government and with business to guide them, to inform, and to also celebrate when they're doing good work, trying to make the world more healthy and sustainable. Having said that, we do have a role of shouting about the problems as well, and we recently produced a report as a result of something called the Children's Future Food Inquiry, where we spoke to 400 young people across the UK about their experience of the food system, and there was some pretty harsh stuff that came out of that about 4 million kids in the UK living in homes where healthy and sustainable food was just unaffordable. So we're not scared of bringing up the hard facts that help focus policymakers into the changes that are necessary. Veggie Power was born out of some of that work. So Peas Please is one of our campaigns, and we've been working in Peas Please to get more vegetables into the food system. So we might work with a retailer to see how they could get an extra portion of veg into a ready meal, or we might work with a restaurant chain to see if they can put an extra portion of veg on a kid's plate when they serve a kid's meal. Out of that came this idea that not much money is spent on advertising vegetables, and we know that getting kids to eat veg is one of the most impactful things we can do for children's health. So we were like, hang on a sec, what would happen if we use some of the brilliance of the advertising and creative world to advertise vegetables? Let's take some of that brilliant creativity that normally gets spent on funded advertising campaigns. Let's take some of that and focus on the humble veg, which is exactly what we did with Veggie Power. We partnered with ITV, who came on board and gave us a phenomenal 2 million quid's worth of free advertising space in prime time entertainment shows and right across their output. And we made an ad. It's different, it was brave, it was bold. We turned the tables on what people normally do when they're trying to sell veg to kids. They normally try to make them happy, smiley, dancing vegetables under rainbows. We thought, no, that's not working. So we decided to make an action mock horror movie, is all I can describe it. We demonise vegetables. The evil veg are going to take the world over, and the only thing that can save the world is the kids, who have to eat them to defeat them.
Great, that's an excellent and very interesting approach. So clearly you've been involved in these really critical health advocacy campaigns that are particularly targeted towards children. So Joe, why is this so important?
We have a generation of children who are growing up without access to a healthy, affordable diet, and this is unacceptable. The UK is the 5th largest economy in the world, and it is absolutely ridiculous that we can't afford to give our kids healthy, affordable food. I think the cost of the NHS, our precious NHS, that is something that we are so proud of in the UK, is costing the NHS about £16 billion a year to treat diet-related disease. That's not just type 2 diabetes, that's heart attacks and strokes and cancers, all of which are massively on the increase because of obesity. We have a generation of children that for the first time ever are going to live shorter lives than their parents because of what they're eating. We've reached that tipping point. We are seeing obesity in the same households as malnutrition. So kids who might be morbidly obese because they're eating so much are malnourished because they're not eating the right things. They're just eating junk food. So it's absolutely a crisis. I feel passionately about it. And I've spent the last 10 years of my life campaigning to get change.
Great. Thanks, Joe. And so what do you think are some of the biggest challenges today within the scope of health advocacy?
I think the biggest challenges at the moment are breaking out of how we are trying to influence people and looking and exploring new ways of doing it. We with Veggie Power, for example, we did a lot of research at the beginning to try and find out why parents weren't buying veg and why kids didn't want to eat them. And what did we discover? Kids think veg are horrible. They think it's yucky. Parents are scared to buy them because they're living in poverty. A lot of them are living in households without a lot of disposable income, and they don't want to spend money on veg that are going to end up in the bin. It's easier to give them chips. So actually, what we did with Veg Power was we took that basic knowledge that kids think vegetables are horrible. Well, let's start there and let's make a campaign around the fact that they think veg are evil and nasty, and that's what we did. I also think it's absolutely vital with the younger generation to entertain them, because there is so much content out there. They live in a world with incoming on social and digital, and their attention spans are incredibly low. So you have to grab them. You have to make them go, what's that? Otherwise, they're not going to engage. I also think it's important that we go to where they are, go to where they're viewing. Let's get onto those social media platforms that are emerging all the time. Let's get into the games. My next stop is going to be the gaming companies, because I want to see Fortnite skinning some of their characters in vegetable costumes for a week. I mean, kids would be like, what's going on? Why is my favourite character turned into a pumpkin? Or why? But actually, it's a way of engaging children without just pumping it down their throat. The one thing I really learned is there's no point talking to kids about their health. Kids don't care. I don't know what you were like when you were a teenager, but the last thing on your mind is, how long am I going to live? Am I going to get a diet-related disease when I'm 40? They're not interested. What they're interested in is saving the planet, which is fantastic to see the young generation rising up. And so I think there's a real opportunity with linking diet with saving the planet. Save the planet, eat your veg. Got to bring that message together. That's something we're looking at now. And I think it's also, the other thing I would say it's really important is to go out into the community. Take your message to where the people are. So with Veg Power, we really tried to get into the school bags. We tried to put posters up in doctors' surgeries. We did community events where we took over the local market and had people running around in vegetable costumes. So actually, we really tried to embed the campaign in every aspect of life.
Great. Thank you very much, Joe. That's really, really insightful. And so just as a final question, how critical is collaboration within the industry in empowering consumers, children and adults alike, to live healthier lives?
I think collaboration is vital. I think it's vital because of consumer trust. And I think we've seen a lot of evidence. There were some wonderful presentations at this conference around how little the consumer trusts brands or trusts the media or trusts. So I think actually, if we can find a magical mix of where retailers and brands link with NGOs such as ourselves, I think it brings trust and it brings some credibility to a campaign that it's hard for a brand to do on their own. I know that with Veg Power, we got 10 retailers to all contribute together. Now, that had never happened. The idea that we had 10 different retailers who were all come together, all put their money into a central pot, and then let us spend it on a campaign. That's the first time it's ever happened. And I think what was great about that was when you saw the end card of the ad and it had every retailer on it, people felt this is something different. This isn't just somebody trying to make money. This is something different. And I think that really helps us punch through. So I think collaboration is absolutely vital.
Excellent. Well, thank you so very much, Joe, for sharing those valuable insights and for taking the time to sit down with us today.
That's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.